Welcome to the later edition of Stream On. I'm Jim Williams, and with me is Chris King. And we got off to a little slow start here, Chris, as we are starting to work together here on the. Hang on with me, Chris. Hang on. All right. Yeah. Once again, we are moving forward here on the Max Wagers Network, and a little hectic, Chris. What can I say? A little manic Tuesday, but we're here, and a little late, but we are here, and that's the key. So, how you doing, buddy? Do you have a good night?
Sure, why not? I mean, it was interesting to watch Furman lose on a 40-foot contested three over three guys in the SoCon final. Felt bad for Bob Ritchie's team. They haven't been in the tournament since 1980.
Mm-hmm.
They had a good chance. They were up by 2 with 5 seconds left. The guy, like I said, he hit a 40-footer over three guys at the buzzer to put Chattanooga in the tournament. So good for the Mocs, not so good for the Paladins. Obviously, that's the way things go in March with a lot of these mid-major conferences. Sometimes you don't get the breaks.
Sometimes it's just plain crazy. Speaking of crazy, let's talk about our wonderful sponsors who just give away crazy kind of fun stuff. And let's start with BetMGM, one of the 2 promotions we got today. BetMGM will give you new customers a risk-free bet on your first sports wager up to $1,000. Now, any new players are the only ones that are eligible, and they must be claimed. Any prizes must be claimed before 7 days, okay, after you sign up. So once you do that, now all you have to do is this. Once you create an account and make your first deposit, place any real money sports bet between $10 and $1,000, and they will match it. Okay? All right, cool. And remember that the most important thing to remember is always bet responsibly, and you have to be over 21 to participate. All right? Okay. So there you go.
Now, Jim, I don't know if you saw this since you had all these technical difficulties. It's been announced that Russell Wilson has been traded to the Denver Broncos.
I did not see that.
Along with a 4th-round pick, Seattle is reported to get 2 first-round picks, 2 second-rounders, a 5th, quarterback Drew Lock, defensive tackle Shelby Harris, and tight end Noah Fant.
So literally the only thing left in Denver is the stadium?
Well, I mean, they'll still have Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick, and, they've got the running back duo of Gordon and Javonte Williams. But a big trade. I mean, now, does this make Derek Carr the worst quarterback in the AFC West? According to Scott Reichel, the answer is yes.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to hold judgment on Russell Wilson with Denver. I think they think that the problem is quarterback. I don't think that's the problem with Denver. But, we'll see. I don't know. We will definitely see. I know that at least 3 teams in the NFC were all in on Russell. So clearly they didn't want him in the NFC, which is legit. I mean, I remember back in the day when the Green Bay Packers went to Brett Favre when he demanded a trade. And they said, okay, we've got 2 teams that are really interested. We got the Bucs and we got the Jets. And so he said, they asked him, where do you want to go? He says, I'll go to Tampa Bay. And, of course, he was immediately traded to the Jets. So they wanted no part of moving him in the same conference. So there you go, boys and girls.
And, of course, the other breaking news, Aaron Rodgers signing a new deal with the Green Bay Packers.
I saw that one, yeah.
$153 million of guaranteed money. Now, the big question coming out of Green Bay, and I'm sure that we'll have to ask Bill Bender this next week when we have him on. Do the Green Bay Packers now shop Jordan Love?
They have to.
And B, will anybody give the Green Bay Packers anything for Jordan Love?
Absolutely nothing. mean, this is a mess of their own making.
If you look at it, it draws parallels to the whole Jimmy Garoppolo New England situation behind Tom Brady.
Right. At the end of the day, is this guy going to ever get to play? And if he's as good as they say he is, then why are you, wooing Aaron Rodgers? It's just crazy. I mean, to me, it makes no sense. Aaron Rodgers is a great regular season quarterback. Insert Tony Romo. And then after that, once the playoffs come, he either forgets how good he was during the regular season, or he just can't handle it. And a guy who's 7-7 in the postseason, which is what he is, and won one Super Bowl, which kudos to him. Nobody's going to argue that Aaron Rodgers is a talented quarterback. What they'll argue is, why in the heck are you spending $150+ million on this guy? He's 35, 36?
No, I think he's older than that. Aaron Rodgers is he's 38. He'll be 39 in December.
And this determines his contract is how long?
4 years, $200 million reportedly.
Oh, man. And
$153 million guaranteed.
Okay.
Trying to see if they have an actual breakdown of the numbers or not. They might not have them yet.
I mean, how does that not crush the cap?
Well, I guess because they'll either probably be backloaded or a ton of it'll be signing bonus money and everything else.
Deferred cash.
Yeah. So
I'm like I said, with Rodgers, I saw that. These two things I don't get. I don't get Rodgers signing the Packers signing Rodgers to that much money and that long a deal, which we all know doesn't necessarily have to be that long. And the other one is Russell Wilson to Detroit. I'm sorry, to Denver.
My big question, and this would be a great thing that we could ask Rock Riley is, was Tampa Bay even in on Russell Wilson?
I can tell you that no. They weren't. And the reason behind that is they like this Trask kid, and they will be willing to try. Hell, they may even bring Jameis back. That's been conversation too. So I think that no, they didn't want to get into the situation of giving away their future for somebody who may or may not fit in that system. And if you look at what Denver gave away to get Russell Wilson, that's a heck of a bounty that they got.
Well, and there's reports now that Seattle could try to move DK Metcalf as well, which would be, I guess you'd be signaling that, hey, we're rebuilding for the future because we don't think we're doing anything right now. I know there's been talk that Metcalf could fetch a first-rounder in return. I know that there's been reports that they've linked him potentially going to Buffalo, which would be a great pairing alongside Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis and those guys. Right. I don't know if I want to throw out a first-round pick, though, for a receiver when there's, you can obviously when you draft a first-round guy, he's going to be cost-controlled for the first few years.
Right.
Metcalf has already been around for a while. He's probably due for a new contract in the near future. If he hasn't already done one, I have to look and see what. Yeah, let's see. That's his rookie contract, 4 years, $4.5 million. Nice deal when you can get it. Yeah, he's up for a new contract after this season. So I don't know if somebody will throw out a first. I mean, sure, he's still young. He's 24, but it boils down to how much money is it going to take to keep him after this season, and is that why Seattle wants to get out from under him?
You mean Russell Wilson?
No, DK Metcalf.
Metcalf. I don't know. I mean, suddenly, I don't know what's going on in Seattle. I mean, Pete Carroll and that whole operation, which a few years ago was a pristine group, now can't seem to get out of their way. So
yeah, that's true. I mean, you just think about some of these situations that have gone on. And like we said, Seattle's basically, I guess they're waving the white flag and saying, we're rebuilding.
Yeah, go watch the Mariners play.
Yeah, James saying that Rodgers is staying with the Packers. He said, quote, that dude is so overrated. So apparently James agrees with your train of thought about that.
I mean, you can't argue with success during the season, but if you're going to put that kind of cash out there for a 4-year deal, and 153 of it is guaranteed, wouldn't you think that you want to see some results in the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, you would think so. I guess they're trying to do this to try and because they're like 45 million over the cap or something going into this. So it'll cut down on what his number would be. They're still going to try to get Devontae Adams back. I guess they're trying to see if we can get the gang back together one more time. I just don't know if it's going to work. Thomas, the deal is 4 years, $200 million is what's being reported. Like I said, 153 of that money is guaranteed cash. So Rodgers, just got paid well into his early 40s at this point.
Right. Well, okay, so Rodgers got that deal. They trade Russell Wilson. So basically the two quarterbacks that everybody was talking about being the linchpin of this potential trade situation. We'll put Garoppolo over in a little side situation here.
LA still said that when I told him that Garoppolo was going to go to Pittsburgh, he said that he'd pick him up at the airport and then, club him over the head with a slapjack and leave him in the ditch.
It's possible that could happen. We are not. Let us first say, do not call us as witnesses to what LA says on his show. If it happens, if Garoppolo ends up in a ditch in Moon County, don't Moon Township, don't come after us. This is the amazing thing. What looks at this point in time is that the best free agent quarterback on the market is Jameis Winston.
Now, here's another question for you. And again, this is why, somebody like Rock would be interesting to ask. Will the Bucs try to get after Deshaun Watson if Houston deals him?
No.
So they're it's either going to be Jameis or it's going to be Kyle Trask.
No.
Because nobody wants to believe that Blaine Gabbert is going to be the starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Bucs.
I think what they're going to do from the Buccaneers standpoint, Bruce Arians and the OC,
Leftwich,
Brian Leftwich. Leftwich and Arians were really high on Teddy Bridgewater. They liked what they saw when he ran Sean Payton's offense in New Orleans. So if I would say they're leaning more toward probably signing Bridgewater as soon as they can check his knee and see what his mobility situation is. But they didn't. I mean, I think they didn't leave the door closed on Jameis just to say we didn't leave the door closed on Jameis. I don't necessarily think Jameis is coming back to Tampa. So.
And one other NFL story, because I know we've got to move on to other stuff, but it ties into what we do. Calvin Ridley, with the worst return of investment on a bet ever. Apparently, he claims he bet $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
It'll cost him $11.1 million because he's suspended for the 2022 season. I asked Bill Bender about that and asked Bender what he thought, if he thought the punishment was too steep. Were they trying to send a message right out of the gate? Is this the tip of the iceberg? Are there other guys that are gambling that just weren't dumb enough to get caught? And we talked about this with LA yesterday too on his show, and I said, if Calvin Ridley wants to bet on football, you always talk about how when you watch TV shows and everybody's like, everybody's got a guy. You can't tell me that Ridley can't find a guy that can go and place a bet for him where he's not going to be, caught, doing something stupid that's going to end up costing him a year of his career.
Mm-hmm.
And, who knows if the Falcons will keep him after that because of that situation.
Right. No, it's crazy. It's a totally crazy situation all the way up and down.
So the big running joke is Calvin Ridley's suspension sponsored by DraftKings?
Well, there is a actual there's an actual history here in the NFL. I believe it was 1962 when Paul
Hornung and Alex Karras.
Alex Karras were suspended for betting on football. They were suspended for 1 year, and both of them ended up in the Hall of Fame. So
but it was a different time than where
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm simply saying that there was a history situation of players betting and the league suspending. It's a little more difficult for me to look at this and go, okay, in NFL, you're taking $175 million in money from people like the lovely folks at BetMGM, the other folks at Caesars, DraftKings, you name it, they're taking money from them. And so now they're going, wait, one of our players would bet on football? Oh, that can't happen.
And the worst part was he bet on the Falcons to win. I mean, was he just trying to burn his money?
He bet on the Falcons to win?
Yeah, as part of his he bet 3, 5, and 8 team parlays, and the Falcons to win was part of it.
I would have him drug tested. I just, that just doesn't fly with me. Maybe, I don't know.
AJS asked, when's Ridley going to be on the show? Well, we've probably got a better chance of getting Jerry Glanville on.
Yeah. He's someone who would, I clearly looks like he's going to be available. So that's not a problem.
And John points out a valid point. Calvin Ridley gets a year for gambling. Pete Rose banned for life.
Don't get me started on the Pete Rose thing there. I honestly think Pete should be in the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of Nice. It's not the Hall of, there are characters in there that are far worse, have done far worse things than Pete Rose did.
Are you talking about Ty Cobb?
Well, I don't want to mention any names, but
Ty Cobb's dead. I don't think he's listening in.
You never know these things. I watched X-Files for many years. You just never know what happened. Look, what can I say? At the end of the day, Bart Giamatti, who might have been the worst commissioner in history.
I don't know. Faye Vincent was pretty bad,
Vincent.
too.
Yeah, Faye Vincent's right there. Just, the Dowd report, the whole routine, all of it happened after he played on the field. Okay. Put an asterisk, put whatever you want. But the fact of the matter is, there's more. If you've ever been, and those of you have, I strongly recommend taking a trip. If you've ever been to Cooperstown, there's more Pete Rose memorabilia in the Hall of Fame for what he did during his time as a player. The only thing he's missing is a bust.
Right.
He's got more stuff in there than pretty much any player other than, say, Babe Ruth. So, I don't know. Maybe someday they'll play baseball again, but they don't look like they're in a rush at this point in time. So, all right, I guess we should get to the things at hand, right?
Yep, I see everybody talking about St. Mary's Gonzaga. I didn't cover that game on here just because of the fact that by the time I finished writing up that game, it was about 2.
St. Mary's didn't play Gonzaga last night.
No, they're playing tonight.
Oh, okay.
In the West Coast title game.
Because I saw Gonzaga play.
Gonzaga played San Francisco. St. Mary's got by Santa Clara to set up the title game.
Mm-hmm.
St. Mary's is a 13-point underdog. I would take the points. Gonzaga tends, when they play good basketball, they play good basketball for a half, and then they coast in the second half, and it leads to a lot of backdoor covers. We saw that yesterday. They were up 20 at the half against San Francisco. They got lackadaisical in the second half. The Dons cut it to 8 with under 2 minutes to go.
They got sloppy.
Yeah, they did, and that's what they do. And in this one, when it comes to that, St. Mary's is a very good defensive team. Let's not take anything away from Randy Bennett's group. Though they tried giving away the game yesterday against Santa Clara, they were up double digits, and then all of a sudden, under 20 seconds to go, Tommy Coos misses a jumper. Santa Clara's got the ball down 1 with a chance to win it, but Logan Johnson came up with a block and then knocked out a couple free throws to secure the win. But still, yeah, I would take St. Mary's with the points. Gonzaga may well end up being the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, but double digits against a team like St. Mary's, if this was in Spokane, maybe. Definitely not if it was in Moraga, which is St. Mary's home, and definitely not on a neutral floor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mark Few's going to have to get his team to play 40 straight minutes as opposed to just playing, halves of games.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, to your point last night, I mean, I watched the game, and to your point, they looked really good in the first half. They were, basically making a very talented, San Francisco team look silly. And San Francisco didn't help themselves. But at the end of the day, if you turned it off at halftime, you'd have thought, well, Gonzaga just blew these people out the door.
Yeah, you would have thought Dick Vitale going, Blowout City, baby.
It's a lot. Yeah, no, it's crazy. But at the end of the day, you're right. They kind of sleepwalk and make mistakes, and you can't do that in the tournament.
Unless you want to go home.
Yeah, and you may push yourself right off the one line.
That's true. Well, I don't know if they'll push themselves off the one line at this point, because they've only got one game left. They're still the number 1 team in the country. Even if they lose to St. Mary's, I don't think it's going to push them off the one. But still, they can't play basketball like that in the tournament. You play 20 bad minutes against some team that you've never heard of, which 20 years ago nobody heard of Gonzaga, other than you knew John Stockton played there.
Right.
But you play 20 bad minutes of basketball, and then all of a sudden you're out of the tournament going, what the hell just happened to us? We were the number 1 team in the field, and we just got beat by, insert random team here. And that's it. And what the problem with Gonzaga is, they get a lot of guys like Chet Holmgren's probably going to be a one and done. Bolton was a grad transfer, I believe. He'd played at Penn State and Iowa State before. Nemhard is near the end of his eligibility, so Mark Few's going to have to reload again, and we'll probably see a whole bunch more of guys that'll be around for a year. That's what I miss about a lot of mid-majors, and Gonzaga used to be like that. They'd have guys that came in and they'd play 3 or 4 years. Now it's, you're here, you blink, you're gone. Well, but in this one, it's a rare time that we talk about the ACC.
I was going to say, that must be a misprint. We're talking about the ACC up here.
No, it's just that NC State is so bad, I can't trust them for anything. And I don't really like Clemson, even though I live, within spitting distance of it, really. I don't like Clemson for anything other than, when they win and I get 50% off pizza or something. But it's a first-round matchup. I don't think either team's going to go any further than tomorrow in the ACC tournament, but I like Clemson here. Tigers, slightly above average offensively. They shoot the ball fairly well. 141st in threes. They shoot a 36.7% clip from three-point range. They shoot well at the free throw line. NC State is awful defensively. 321st in scoring defense at 75.8 points a game. 344th in field goal percentage defense at 47.4%. 319th in two-point defense at 53.2%. 320th in three-point percentage defense, 36.3%, and they get killed on the glass. They're 1-8 in their last 9 after an ATS loss. They're 1-8 against the spread in their last 9 as an underdog. If that wasn't bad enough, the Wolfpack 0-7 against the spread in their last 7 against teams with a winning record. Clemson 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 neutral site games as a favorite, and 9-3 against the spread in their last 12 neutral site games overall. Let's face it, NC State, I feel bad for Kevin Keats. I thought that his team would have been a lot better than what we've seen. But their season comes to an end. A disappointing campaign comes to an end.
Right. It's those are two programs that at one point in time, not that long ago, were very, very strong programs. And now, I don't know, maybe we're beginning to see the watering down of the ACC.
I think you're right. I mean, somehow Lunardi says that there's 5 ACC teams that would get in the field today. I don't know how many of he's projecting to get past round 1, because let's face it, there's not a lot of good teams in the conference.
I mean, I could pick two: Duke and Carolina.
I could see Wake and I could see Notre Dame, but I don't know who the fifth team
Oh,
is.
yeah, I forgot Notre Dame for a minute.
But Notre Dame, they're still putting down near a double-digit seed line, even though they finished second in the conference. So what does that say about the ACC as a whole?
It says that up until this week they only have one or two teams in
It says
the
we
race.
suck.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy, but yeah, the ACC this year, you got to wonder. It's the same thing that happened with the ACC in football. You had Clemson fall off the mountaintop, and
that's true, which was nice for me because I got tired of hearing about Clemson every 5 seconds.
Every Dabo Sweeney press conference, yeah.
Yeah, and every conference about how DJ Uiagalelei is going to be the next Trevor Lawrence, who is going to be the next Deshaun Watson, who is going to be the next Taj Boyd, and so on.
And on and on and on. It's the reason you saw Miami jump in and give, Cristobal that big contract, as well as hiring the athletic director from Clemson. So
yeah,
that was,
I'll be interested to see what Brett Venables does in Oklahoma too.
He's going to do well. I think he's a good recruiter and he's a good coach, and that's a hard combination to beat. But speaking of beating, Clemson will be beating the Wolfpack tonight. I assume the games are played in Greenville, right?
They're being played. No, I think the ACC tournament is being played. I think it's Greensboro. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because they basically, for years that was the bane of Gary Williams, who was coaching Maryland at the time.
Yeah, he used to hate going there.
He used to hate going there, and there might be.
I'm mistaken, Jim. They're not playing there. They're playing at the Barclays Center because that's the perfect place for ACC basketball.
Yeah,
let's go to Brooklyn, sure. And
Brooklyn.
And next they're going to play the Big East tournament at the Thomas and Mack Center at UNLV too.
Right. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Why not? Oh man, that's the Barclays Center. I forgot that they were going to play up there. They don't even have a team in that region, so
right.
No idea. All right, well, they liked it because I guess the Big East, of course, has always had the tournament in Madison Square Garden. Forget the fact that all of the teams in the original, group of, of the Big East were all teams that were on the I-95 corridor there. So
right,
there's that. But all road leads to Brooklyn. And look, if nothing else, you can get some good pizza. All right, fair enough.
Well, that's true. I mean, you can't go wrong with pizza.
Nah, of course not. And in Brooklyn, there's 3 or 4 places. I'll tweet them out later for you. Okay, Marist. Now, Allie, I watched a little bit of her show earlier today on the Max Wagers Network here, and she had a bunch of people all over this Marist team.
Yeah, I mean, I like Marist. Nobody really talks about them because they play in the Metro Atlantic. Everybody knows that the Metro Atlantic's probably going to be Iona's place to walk out and, go dancing again for Rick Pitino. Marist, they're 1 game below 500, but John Dunn's team plays good defense. Their last 2 games notwithstanding, as they lost to Canisius and Niagara. But before that, they had reeled off 6 straight wins, which is saying something. I mean, sure, they didn't play Iona in that stretch, but they played Iona tough in the 2 meetings they had against them, losing by 7 and by 3. Here they get to play Quinnipiac, which everybody loves Quinnipiac because it's in the middle of Connecticut. And you talk about, we just talked about Marist winning 6 straight before dropping their final 2. Quinnipiac comes in with 6 straight losses and 9 losses in their last 10 games.
Yeah.
Not really the way you want to go into a tournament if you're the Bobcats and Baker Dunleavy. Quinnipiac, they're mediocre defensively. They're 268th in scoring defense, 210th in field goal percentage defense, 310th in threes allowed, and they are terrible in 3-point defense at 36.8%. Meanwhile, Marist is better on the defensive end of the floor, ranking 138th in scoring defense, 78th in field goal percentage at 41.4, 98th in 2-point defense, 229th in threes allowed, and 134th in 3-point defense. Quinnipiac, in that 10-game stretch where we said they won 1 of 10, they've actually covered in 3. So good for them. They're 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 neutral site games. 1-4 in their last 5 neutral site games as an underdog. And Marist has won 3 of the last 4 meetings. I think 2.5 points is a little low. I know that they won by 1 the last time they met, but I like the fact that Marist has played good down the stretch. They should get the win here.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, the Quinnipiac is where most people watch and find out about the polls for presidential races, and for, they're known for their statistics, and unfortunately for them, they don't add up. So, I mean, if you look at it.
Now you have audio replay.
What's going on?
Is it the podcast thing again?
No. It was just a weird thing popping from another computer.
Oh, and Steen wants to know if we're actually set up in the W&W setup, because I don't know if he's having issues or not.
He should have. I transferred all their stuff over, so he should have everything he needs.
Okay, I'll let him know.
When you went in there, it was everything you needed, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just couldn't get in. Okay, so makes sense. Okay, just was in there all morning today, so not that you guys need to know this, okay? But we're just sharing a little of our starting up our network, and sometimes when you start something. It takes a little time. So bear with us. We'll get this straight. And the Bobcats are going to have trouble.
Yep, they're going to go home.
They're going home. All right, well, time to go to the ice. And, oops.
Oh, did I click? Yeah, there we go.
Go ahead. I'll keep my hands off of it. Go ahead.
Real quick, Thomas is asking about Delaware and UNC Wilmington. Boy, I'll tell you what, Wilmington got very lucky yesterday against Charleston. I thought Charleston was going to pull it out late. They got called for that late charge with a couple seconds left when they had the ball and a chance to win. Delaware played well against Towson. I know we talked yesterday that I thought Towson was going to win. Allie thought Towson was going to win.
I thought they were going to win.
I felt, you thought they were going to win. I felt bad because Nathan thought Delaware was going to win, and we talked him out of it.
Right.
So I'm going to blame Jim for that.
All right, fair enough. I'll take it.
But I like the way Delaware's played basketball of late, at least in this tournament. I mean, I didn't expect them to be here, and I still think UNC Wilmington is due to regress. They have terrible offensive metrics when you look at them. I don't know how in the world they've won so many games when you get right down to it. But no, I'm going to stick with the Blue Hens here. I know they're given a couple points, but, momentum is a fickle thing, and right now, after that game against Towson yesterday, Delaware, put the boots to them, and they beat Drexel before that. I like the fact that Delaware figured things out. I'll give the 2.5, and I'll take them. I just can't. I can't trust UNC Williamson on the offensive end, or Wilmington, I should say, given the fact that they're middle of the road in scoring offense, but they're 292nd in field goal percentage at 41.8%. That just doesn't move the needle. And defensively, they're 259th in field goal percentage and 336 defending the three. Meanwhile, Delaware likes to shoot from out there, and they're very effective on the offensive end. Mm-hmm. I think that the Blue Hens will get the victory in that contest.
Well, let's go back to the ice. We got the Avalanche and the Devils.
Yeah, we talked about the Avalanche yesterday, and we talked about Barry Trotz and the Islanders. I don't know if you saw any of that game, Jim. It was 1-1 after 2 periods.
That doesn't surprise me.
And it ended up 5-4.
That surprises me. You would figure if the Islanders scored 4 points, if they scored 4 points, they would win by a bunch.
Yeah, but Colorado scored 3 goals in like 2.5 minutes, and then they had to hang on late. But, That was Pavel Francouz in net. It's supposed to be Darcy Kemper, 27-6-2 with a 253 goals against, a 918 save percentage, and 3 shutouts against Nico Dawes, who's a whopping 4-3 with a 271 goals against, 908 save percentage for New Jersey. Colorado, second in the league in goals per game. They're 12th in goals against. New Jersey, middle of the road when it comes to offense, and they are 26th in goals against at 3.54. Not a great matchup when you're dealing with a Colorado team that, like we said, can explode at a moment's notice. Just ask Semyon Varlamov last night.
Right.
In that third period, 4 goals, got torched, turned the game right around. Colorado 5-0 in their last 5 against the Metropolitan. They're 50-10 in their last 60 against teams with a losing record. And unlike some teams, looking at you, the Houston Rockets, they don't care if they're playing the second game of a back-to-back. They're 11-1 in the last 12 such situations, which is pretty darn impressive when you get right down to it, especially with the physicality involved in the sport of hockey. Meanwhile, New Jersey 5-14 in their last 19 against the West. They're 16-45 in their last 61 as an underdog. They're 13-39 in their last 52 on Tuesday, and the Avs 27-1 in their last 28 meetings with the Devs. Look for them to get the win on the road, even though it's the second game of back-to-back.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy, to say the least. But, this is a game that Colorado shouldn't even, be breathing heavy against New Jersey.
Right. You would hope not anyway.
Yeah. This should be a walk in the park. So, all right, we got Colorado and Jersey on to our next one.
We're going to go to the city of brotherly love.
And the Flyers.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Philadelphia Dumpster Fires, let's be honest. They're not that good of a hockey team. Things haven't gotten any better. Vegas, 32-21-4. They're 16-8-1 on the road. The Flyers, bad. I'm not even going to read their record. That's how bad it is. Robin Lehner is expected to make his return tonight for the Knights. He's 21-14-1 with a 279 goals against, a 909 save percentage, and 1 shutout. Meanwhile, Carter Hart, 10-18-6 with a 294 goals against, a 910 save percentage, and 1 shutout expected for Philadelphia. The Golden Knights are 13th in goals for at 3.16. They're 16th in goals against. The Flyers don't score goals. They're 29th in the league at 2.53. They're 24th in goals against at 3.42. The Knights 8-1 in their last 9 as a road favorite. They're 52-18 in their last 70 against teams with a losing record. They're 11-4 in their last 15 on the road. Flyers 1-7 in their last 8 when their opponent scores 2 or less in their last game. The Knights coming off a 2-1 win over Ottawa. The Flyers also 1-6 in their last 7 on Tuesday, and they're 3-15 in their last 18 when their opponent gives up 2 or less. Like we just said, it was a 2-1 win for Vegas against Ottawa. You have to think Vegas will go on the road in the city of brotherly love, and I know that they've got a game Thursday where Jack Eichel will make his return to the KeyBank Center and face the Sabres, but I don't think they're going to look ahead. Look for Vegas to beat up the Flyers as the Broad Street Bullies turn into the Broad Street Wimps.
And so it goes. It's funny when you look at franchises. I mean, we're talking about with Philadelphia, we're talking about a franchise that for many years was as proud a hockey franchise as it was in the business. And it's really been 5 or 6 years since they've even been overly competitive.
That's true. And Jim, if you want to check the chat there, I told you what Steen just told me.
Okay.
It's in the private chat there. But yeah, you're right. The Flyers, gone are the days of Bobby Clark and Bernie Parent and Reggie Leach, and even going to Ron Hextall or the Crazy Eights line with Lindros and Fedek and Mark Recchi. Gone are those halcyon days when the Flyers were quasi-relevant in the Eastern Conference. They've now found themselves as a denizen of the basement along with teams like the Sabres and the Devils, with nothing to look forward to but an early trip to the golf course and first dibs at going to Jim's or Pat's or Geno's for cheesesteaks. You have to feel bad. Fred Shiro somewhere is vomiting seeing how poorly this team has played. And I wonder what Ed Snyder thinks of the organization.
Probably not much. I mean, because you're using the term organization, and that's not necessarily what we're seeing going on in Philadelphia these days, which is
This is true.
Painful because, not painful to me because I'm not a fan, but if I were a fan of Philadelphia, that would be another thing. But, you want to see them competitive at least, and they just haven't even been that. So before we get to our NBA, which is coming up next, we have another one of our BetMGM promotions for you. What we want you to do is take advantage of this wonderful promotion. It is for first-time users of the BetMGM app. If you deposit and place a bet of $10 on any NBA game, and you get $200 if either team hits a 3-point shot. Okay, so not a bad deal. All the information is in the show box below. Remember, you have to be 21 years of age, and by all means, always wager responsibly. So our two BetMGM promotions are in the show box below, as is our new lineup on Max Wagers Network and all the good things that you need to know, including stuff we're going to talk a little bit later about things that Chris provides for you all. You can't email him, though. It's in the show box below. All right, Chris, let's hit the hardwood and go over to the association. Ready?
Yep. And we're going to start with the Milwaukee Bucks, who are favored by 3 billion points over the Oklahoma City Thunder. But let's face it, the Oklahoma Thunder are not very good. The Bucks 40-25 overall. They're 17-13 on the road. The Thunder, meanwhile, 20-44. They're 9-23 on their own floor at the Paycom Center. And we've talked about this before. The Thunder, the Pistons are happy they're in the league because Detroit's 29th in a lot of categories. The Thunder dead last in scoring offense at 102.1 points a game. They're last in field goal percentage at 42.2. And they're last in three-point shooting at 31.2% this year. Meanwhile, they're facing a Bucks team that's third in the league in scoring offense at 114 points a game. They're 14th in field goal percentage, and they're sixth in three-point shooting. The Thunder are expected to not have Lou Dort, Josh Giddey, Mike Muscala, Jeremiah Robertson Earl, and Kenrich Williams. Derek Favors is a question mark. Also not suiting up for the Thunder, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, and Coach Billy Donovan. Let's face it, the Thunder, they're not a great team when they're healthy. They're less of a team when they're minus their second and third leading scorers in Dort and Giddey. That means Gilgeous Alexander is going to have to try to shoulder the load by himself. And that's a tough task to ask of anybody on such a bad team, especially facing a team like the Bucks, who will have Antetokounmpo and Middleton and Jrue Holiday and all those guys on the floor. The Bucks 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 on Tuesday, 4-1 in their last 5 on the road, 5-2 against the spread in their last 7 against teams with a losing record. Thunder 1-4-2 in their last 7 against the spread at home.
Wait, those numbers are not good by any stretch of imagination. And Milwaukee Milwaukee understands that they have a legit shot at a title here. And
well, it would be a repeat.
Yeah. So ain't a bad team there. Oklahoma is a bad team. So there you go. Where we going next, boss? We're going from Oklahoma to
Memphis.
Now we've lived in Memphis. That's pretty much we love the Grizz.
Yep.
Who doesn't love the Grizz?
The Grizz at home, they're favored by 5.5 points over the always exciting New Orleans Pelicans, who can't figure out if they want to play good basketball or bad basketball. They seem to fluctuate depending on the stretch. Unfortunately for them, this game is not at the Smoothie King Center, where they're 15-17. They're on the road here where they are 12-20, facing a Memphis team that moved into second place in the Western Conference thanks to Golden State's loss last night to Denver on the road. The Grizz 44-22 overall. They're 22-10 at home. Pelicans 22nd in scoring offense at 107.7 points per game, 23rd in field goal percentage, 27th in three-point shooting. Meanwhile, Memphis 4th in the league in scoring at 113.9 points a game. Despite being middle of the pack in field goal percentage and struggling from the perimeter, Memphis 8-0 against the spread in their last 8 on Tuesdays, 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 at home against teams with a losing road record, 8-1 against the spread in their last 9 after an ATS loss because they lost to the Rockets the other day. You figure that one out. 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 after a straight-up loss, and 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 at home. Memphis -5.5. I'm surprised the line didn't move up any. I know everybody's excited about CJ McCollum in New Orleans. But you still got to stop Ja Morant, and nobody's really done that lately outside of Boston. And I got news for you, breaking news for all you people out there that watch basketball. New Orleans is not Boston defensively.
Not by any stretch of imagination. And, the Grizzlies have they exceeded your expectations, you think, this year?
Oh, yeah, I didn't expect them to be where they are right now by far. I figured they'd probably finish around, maybe a couple games over 500, maybe somewhere in that 45 to 47 win range. I mean, we're sitting here with 16 games to go, and they've got 44, so they're probably going to end up in the low to mid 50s, I would imagine, as far as wins go. Taylor Jenkins, he's got to be a front runner for Coach of the Year with what he's done with that team, especially when you figure Dylan Brooks hasn't played since, I believe, late January.
Right.
And that's a big piece of their rotation. But they get guys that step up, and that's important. It's especially the league. It's a league of attrition basically, because somebody goes down and you got to have somebody to step up, or you just crumble like we've seen teams like the Clippers and the Lakers do this season, and Memphis just rolled along kind of like the Heat.
Going along to get along. So, all right, there we are with the Grizz and New Orleans. Let's take a beat here, and let's talk a little bit about somebody we all know and love, and that, of course, is our own Chris King. And, when they call the show Just Parlays for a reason, and that's because Chris King is the king of parlays. Now, you can get Chris's best parlays to bet each day. Every day, Chris will send you to your email box.
Well, let's clarify. I won't do it. Somebody else will.
Yeah, I'm getting there, Chris. Hang on. Hang on. Don't slow the roll here. Here we go. Chris through the company will send you his best parlay tickets ready to play, usually made up of a 1, a 2, or a 4 team, or even greater wagers. Now, not everybody's going to win. We know that. But playing the odds, Chris keeps things very profitable. And in the last 2 weeks, he's had winners of 6 2-team parlays, 2 4-team parlays, 1 6-team parlay, 2 8-team parlays, earning anyone who bet $100 in the estimation of a little over $30,000. I choked up there for a second. $30,000. So, by all means, folks, we love our Chris, and he does a great job. Now, what you want to do is go to the show box below. The only way you get this is to click on the icon. There's a little thing down below. Click on it. It'll take you to the page. It'll explain everything you need to know, and that's how you set it up. Okay, so please, if you want these parlays from Chris sent to you, just follow the description in the show box below, and guess what? You'll get it. Okay, cool. All righty. So it's 2 for the money time.
Yep. And we just talked about Memphis.
They're
I'm
back.
going to ride Memphis. I'm going to take them. I'm going to go with Clemson. Like I said, NC State is terrible. Can't stop anybody defensively. I don't expect Clemson to go any further in the ACC tournament than tomorrow. But, to get to tomorrow, you got to win today. And that's what I think Clemson will do. NC State, they can go home and plan for next year because they're not going to prevail here. And then on the ice, we talked about the Avs and the Devils. I know Colorado's playing the second game of a back-to-back, but you know who doesn't care? The Colorado Avalanche.
Ooh, I was going to say, I know.
New Jersey, they're kind of like Buffalo, where they've got some young talent that, hopefully they can get to come together and develop and turn into a decent franchise. It's not happening right now. And running into a team like Colorado who can torch you at a moment's notice doesn't bode well for them. Take the Avs and take the Knights over the Flyers. I just don't trust Carter Hart. I don't trust Martin Jones. I don't trust anybody that the Flyers put in net because they can't keep the puck out of it. And on the other end, they can't score. So there's no reason to trust Philadelphia.
No, this ain't Rocky. So, all right. Let's go for fourth of the show.
All right. And we're going to talk about, look at that. The Brooklyn Nets are only a 3-point favorite on the road at Charlotte. Now, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, those guys are going to be on the floor for the Nets. Meanwhile, Charlotte still won't have Gordon Hayward. So I like the Nets here. I'm surprised the line hasn't moved that much. It was 2.5, so I think it went up half a point to 3 now.
Is Michael Jordan coming out of retirement too?
They might get Muggsy Bogues too. Who knows?
That's true. Yeah. That might push it to 5.
Yeah. In Conference USA, I like the UTSA Roadrunners over Southern Miss. Southern Miss has just been an awful basketball team. Things aren't going to get any better for them here. You look at the fact that they come in a whopping 6-25. They've lost 14 straight games. They've lost 17 of 18. And if you want to go all the way back to right after the day after Thanksgiving, they were 4-2 after beating UC San Diego on Thanksgiving Day. Since then, they're 2-23. Now, sure, one of those wins was over UTSA back in January when they won by a point. Then they proceeded to lose by 19 to UTSA in an overtime game in the second meeting. That's right. They lost by 19 in overtime, getting outscored 22-3. If you get outscored 22-3 in overtime, were you ever really in the game?
The answer to that question is no.
So I'm not going to trust Southern Miss in that one. I'm surprised Jay Ladner hasn't been sacked yet. On the ice, I'm going to go with Tampa Bay on the road over Winnipeg. I know the Jets are at home, but Tampa Bay has been playing well of late. They've won, I think, 9 of their last 10. And they're clicking right now. And then Nashville at home over Dallas. This is one of those games where these two teams are chasing each other in the standings for the playoffs. Going into tonight's action, let's just see where they are. Let's see. Dallas is tied for third in the Central Division with 67 points. Nashville's right behind them with 66. Playing at home, you got to go with the Preds. The Preds are 15-10-0 at home. Dallas just 12-13-2 on the road this season. I don't trust the Stars here. They lost last week, or when Nashville retired Pekka Rinne's jersey here, and they're going to lose again.
Well, what's a mother to do? They really just can't handle success.
Well, they can't handle being on the road anyway.
There's that too. It's just crazy. I mean, you were just talking the other day. We got so many teams bunched at the top in these divisions, and then there's teams like Winnipeg and some of these other guys that just can't seem to get out of their own way.
Right. And that's the problem, it's crowded in the West. Like I said, you've got in the Central, you've got St. Louis is in second place with 71, then Minnesota and Dallas have 67, and Nashville has 66, but only 3 of those teams are going to get guaranteed slots. In the Pacific, you've got the Kings have 71, Vegas has 68, Edmonton has 64, Anaheim has 63, and Bruce Boudreau and the Canucks have 62. And again, so you're talking about 11 teams that have between 62, 10 teams because Colorado's running away with everything.
Right.
And then if you take out Calgary leading the Pacific, you've got 9 teams between 62 and 71 points battling for 6 spots.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting how that plays out, and it's going to be interesting to see who buys and who sells at the deadline because of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we both think that Vancouver's going to be a buyer. And, as I said before, Washington thinks that they're definitely going to be a buyer. How many positions? I don't know. But definitely they're going to be a buyer. I wouldn't be surprised. Pittsburgh's there. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they put, they put something out there. At the end of the day, it's who's got, you mentioned it the other day. Which team has the kind of, people on it or makeup of it that you can lose somebody and it's not going to hurt you. And most of the time, that's where you trade bad contracts for bad contracts, or you take on a bad contract with this player super, and you basically say, look, I'll take 80% of the cash of that contract. You just handle the final 20. So that's what happens, and it's kind of a weird situation. But I do think that there's gonna be at least 5 or 6 teams, maybe 7 teams that are buyers this time around.
Right.
Doesn't mean they're going to get what they want, but they're definitely going to be buyers.
Well, that's the way it works, though. Sometimes, sometimes you go to the store and you get what you're looking for. Sometimes you go to the store and you come back with bologna and hot dogs.
That's right. Those are the good days. Mm-hmm. So there you go. All right, so we should go to the list, right?
Yep.
All right, off we go.
Look at all these great teams that nobody's ever talked about. That's right. Cal Baptist.
All right, I'm going to have to. I have never, until you just showed me this, seen Cal Baptist, and I have no earthly clue what that other team is. The UTRGV.
Well, it's Cal Baptist. They're in Riverside.
Okay.
They play in the WAC. They're taking on the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley.
Whoa.
The Vaqueros.
All right. Whoa. Okay.
Yep, I know. It's a catchy name, isn't it? It just shows you that when we get into these small conferences, there's a lot of teams that nobody's ever talked about or heard of. Well, and Rio Grande Valley is one of them, because why would you?
Well, this is a first for me, because I can honestly say it's the first line you put up there since we've been working together where I didn't know at least one of the teams.
Yeah, Rio Grande Valley is in Edinburgh, Texas.
Okay. Wow.
Coach Matt Figure, they're 8-22. They finished 3-15 in the WAC. Their season's going to come to an end, so we don't need to talk about them anymore.
Right. FIU, I know, and Marshall.
Yeah, I like FIU getting points here. Marshall just didn't impress me this season. They run and they run and they run, but they don't play defense. And FIU has a pretty decent offensive attack where they can put up some points. Jeremy Ballard's team, I know they stumbled down the stretch. They lost their last 4, but they beat Marshall twice. So I'm surprised Marshall's favored. But I'm going to go with FIU here as they get a victory in that one. Moving on, Utah Valley, another team from the WAC, coached by Mark Madsen. Hopefully he won't break out his horrible dance moves like he used to do at Lakers championship celebrations.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing Chicago State. The one time we talked about Chicago State before was when they played IUPUI in that rock fight back in December. They barely beat IUPUI. That's all you need to know about Chicago State. They won't be beating a Utah Valley team that's actually relatively decent. In Jacksonville, the Dolphins getting 3 points without Artis Gilmore as they go to take on Bellarmine in the Atlantic Sun Tournament Final. Interesting thing about this one, Jim, if Bellarmine wins, they're not eligible to go to represent the conference in the tournament because they're still new. So if Bellarmine wins, it'll be Jacksonville State earning the automatic bid as they were the regular season champion. I'm hoping that Jacksonville can just save everybody all that aggravation and get in themselves by winning.
We knock them out, yeah.
In the NBA, Cleveland favored by 3 over Indiana. That line's actually gone down. It was 5 yesterday. Latest blow for the Cavs, Jared Allen out with a broken finger. But I still think they have enough to beat Indiana. The Warriors, like I said, they played yesterday, and we told you they would lose to Denver. That game was a track meet despite hardly anybody playing that anybody's ever heard of. But, you know, what that means is Curry and Thompson and all those guys are rested because they didn't play in yesterday's game.
Right.
The Clips, you know, they still don't have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and company. They're muddling along, but they just got pasted by the Knicks the other day, so I'm not going to have a faith in anybody that gets pasted by the Knicks. The Suns are only favored by 6 over Orlando because they won't have Cam Johnson or Devin Booker or Chris Paul, but, you know, they still have DeAndre Ayton and Jay Crowder and some other guys, and I'll take those guys over Orlando's guys pretty much any day of the week. Heck, you know, you could trot out the water boy and the towel boy for the Suns, and they'd probably still be favored over Orlando, even with the game at the Amway Center. On the ice, I'm going to go with the Blues over the Sens, that game at the Enterprise Center in St. Louis. The Red Wings over the Coyotes. Let's face it, Detroit struggled keeping the puck out of their net lately, but Arizona can't score. So Detroit should come up with a win. And in what should be a really good matchup between two of the top teams in the East, I'm going to go with the Penguins at home over the Panthers. Florida played yesterday against Buffalo, rolling to a 6-1 win. But they might be a little heavy-legged come the third period. Good goalie matchup there, Sergei Bobrovsky against Tristan Jarry.
It's definitely a nice setup. You got some good guys playing with each other there. You know, it's funny as we get down here to the stretch to run. Who do you like in Conference USA? We talked about them and, you know, some of the teams they've got. They've got a couple of decent little teams in that conference.
Well, you know, I really like, and it's strange when you look at it, but, you know, I really like what Western Kentucky has. Western Kentucky, their center, Jamarian Sharp, is 7'5".
Whoa. Is he Minute Gold type 7'5", 105 pounds, or what?
No, he's about 240, 245, somewhere in that range.
That's still light for a guy that's big, but yeah, okay.
True, but I mean, he's a shoddy racer.
Okay.
You look at his numbers here. Let me take a quick look at him because I was looking at him the other day and I thought they were ridiculous. He doesn't put up a ton of points. He's only a freshman.
Oh, okay.
He averaged 8 points. Yeah, he averaged 8.3 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 4.6 blocks.
Really?
He shot 72.7% from the field and 42% at the line.
You got me, boss.
So he's basically Shaq.
Yeah.
He had a triple-double back in November against Alabama A&M when he had 10 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 blocks. He's blocked at least 7 shots 5 times. He's blocked at least 6 shots 10 times.
Seriously.
So basically, Jamarian Sharp is the new version of Mark Eaton, who I loved when he played in Utah.
True.
The late Mark Eaton, I should say. But yeah, when you've got a guy that's going to wreak havoc in the paint and make teams think 2 or 3 times about coming in there, it makes you a dangerous team defensively. And you look at the numbers, Western Kentucky, they were middle of the pack in scoring defense, but they like to run. And I watched a play in transition the other day against Marshall where on one end, Sharp blocked the shot and then ran to the other end and caught an alley-oop and dunked it.
Wow.
So for being 7'5", he's a pretty athletic guy.
Mm-hmm.
And with coupled with Davion McKnight and Cam Justice and Jarris Hamilton, Josh Anderson, you've got 4 guys that average in double figures. So he's not trying to do it all by himself on the offensive end. I'd watch out for Western Kentucky. They could really screw with some people in the Conference USA tournament, and if they were to somehow get through, they would not be a matchup I would want to see when it comes to March Madness. Can you imagine a team like Kansas or something like that going up and having to see a guy like that in the middle of the middle of the floor?
Well, who was
with the way Bill Self's team plays?
No, who was the kid? Remember that played for Central Florida, the big kid.
Oh, Taco Fall.
Yeah, he carried UCF for a ways there in the tournament, but
that's
nobody
true.
wanted to see him.
Yeah, and that's a valid comparison too. Fall obviously, had a good career, and they battled Duke right down to the wire his last season.
So yeah, I mean, you can if you can get a hold of Andre the Giant, you hang on to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he is a tree technically, so yeah.
There you go.
There you go. And what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the rematch of Mount St. Mary's and our buddies at Gonzaga should be a good rematch. And
it should be. The other one I'm looking forward to tonight is South Dakota State. Can they remain unbeaten in the Summit League as they go to the Summit League title game against North Dakota? North Dakota prevailing yesterday over Oral Roberts. South Dakota State, we said they were going to roll over South Dakota. They were up 55-30 at the half before coasting the rest of the way to win 83-60 something, I think it was.
I don't mind. A lot of times coaches in tournaments like this, what they do is if they do get up by 20, they'll, start substituting guys in, knowing that the next day they're going to have to play another game. So
exactly.
So, these point spreads in some of these conference games, you got to be careful of because, as Chris, as you said earlier, right, against San Francisco, they basically, first half didn't even look like San Francisco was on the court.
Right. I mean, there was 9-0 in the blink of an eye.
Yeah. And they were turning the ball over. They were doing everything right. Look at them going, man, this is a good time for San Francisco to get back on the bus and head back to California. But, they play 2 halves in these tournaments. And
who came up with that brilliant idea?
Yeah. I don't know. We used to joke when I used to do Cavaliers basketball that the Cavs had a great record at the end of 3 periods. Unfortunately, we have to play 4. So we ran into Commissioner Stern one day. And I asked him, I said, Commissioner, I have a request, who do I give it to? He goes, what is it? I said, it's about changing the time of your game. He goes, well, 7 o'clock is usually a pretty good time. And I said, no, not the tip-off time. Here in Cleveland, it'd be good if we could just only play 3 quarters. He goes, no, that doesn't work. You got to play 4. So I'm like, okay, well, fair enough. Always a funny man, Mr. Stern. So
yep, he did a good job putting the league on the map, even though there's still controversy over the whole draft lottery with Patrick Ewing and everything else.
Yeah,
and I think that'll rage on forever.
Yeah, I will. We had a situation where Evan and I wrote a book on David, and he was quite a character. And for me personally, I think he probably was the smartest commissioner in all of sports. If you look at what he did with the television deal, where he got the TV, it's on linear, meaning now at one point it was on NBC, now it's ABC. And he got the deal with he was the first league to sign a long-term contract deal with a national cable operator. And, it goes on and on and on. I mean, from his standpoint, what he did with taking the Dream Team over to Barcelona and creating what in essence is a world brand. It's all that's the genius that was David Stern, and he was usually the smartest guy in the room. And as I once told him, the key is not only are you the smartest guy in the room, you know you're the smartest guy in the room. So no false modesty on David's part, but that's okay. As the old saying goes, the late Paul Bear Bryant used to say, it ain't bragging if you can do it. And
That's true.
In the case of Stern, he could do it. So no doubt about that. All right. Any final thoughts before we edge on out of here? And you can catch up to our buddies at back at the window with Scott and Scott.
Yeah, I think we've probably held them up long enough. I don't want to,
they'll get their chance. All right, gang. It's been fun. We will see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel right here on Just Parlays. Take care of yourself. And for Chris and I, we will see you tomorrow at 2.